Hello, family, and welcome back to another edition of SportsProbe. I'm BE Seymore, and I'm glad you're back and seeing me again. I'm glad to be in your living rooms or your phones or wherever you're at. You can always hit me at SeymourBarry15@gmail.com. We're going to talk about the news and notes of the NFL, why players keep getting in trouble. We're also going to talk about my picks this week for the NFL, divisional playoffs that start tomorrow on Saturday. And then we're going to get into a little women's college basketball, some things that happened over the weekend. And then we're going to go back and commemorate Dr. Martin Luther King. Just some news and notes on some things you might not have knew about him. But since we're here, we can relax and chill out with me, and let's get into the news and notes of the NFL here on SportsProbe. Another week, more bad news. I mean, let's start with the Chiefs. They're playing the Bills on Sunday. Big game, but linebacker Willie Green said, okay, I decide I'm going to mess up some property and get arrested. Now, I know he didn't go at it like that on Wednesday, but come on, man. I mean, you should have bigger things on your mind. Now, I know things happen between two adults. I mean, actually must have happened with his baby mother or something. But at the end of the day, come on, man. You know, you could have been suspended, and then boom, you're not there for your team. So I just think that, again, we're back in this same cycle. Because we moved to Cleveland with the Browns, and defensive tackle Malik McDowell, he was arrested on charges of battery and almost knocking a police officer's eye out. And I mean, he was a resisting arrest, had public exposure issues. He had a bail of $27,000. I'm like, come on, man. You beat a cop that bad? What was really wrong with you? That's the question should be asked. I know he wasn't just straight. Come on, he couldn't have been. To do something like that doesn't make any sense. So come on. I mean, and again, we move straight on down to Jacksonville now. Because the Jacksonville linebacker, Lorente McCray, he was arrested in Florida for speeding, fleeing the police, eluding the police, and he was really doing things that was disregarding the public safety of people and property. And he bonded out at $5,000, but you're sitting there going to yourself, come on, man. Are you serious? I mean, you ain't got nothing else better to do? I mean, I know your season over, but come on, big dog. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So, I don't know when to play. I mean, they get a lot of money. I guess they'll figure it out at some point, but it's just not a good look on the NFL. It's really not. So, that said, some good news. Budda Baker, the Arizona Cardinals safety, who was carted off the field in the loss to the Rams on Sunday night, was released from the hospital on Wednesday, thank God, with only a concussion. He actually said in a tweet that all his extremities just went away, like his body shut down. He couldn't move, couldn't do anything. But through the grace of the big guy, he's back, he's okay, he's feeling better, he was released, and that's good news for them. That's the best news the NFL got from this week's events, because I can tell you this right now, it's kind of hard to have events that continuously show the negative side of good guys. These not bad guys. These are good guys. So you just want to see these guys step up to the plate and do better, you know. Just want to see them do better. Now my picks for the NFL divisional playoffs this weekend. I'm simple with my stats. I've been doing it for years. So I just basically tell you what I think, and that's it. I don't go through all the numbers and all that stuff because I've been doing that for a long time, so I really don't get into that. But to just let you know, Mike Vrabel, the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, is 4-0 after a bye. I'll say that again. Mike Vrabel, is 4-0 after the bye. A bye in a season, he's 4-0. The only other coach like that is, well, maybe two, but for one is Andy Reid for the Chiefs, and the other one is Bill Belichick. So just keep that in mind when you thinking about who you're going to pick on the Cincinnati-Tennessee game. I mean, Derrick Henry's coming back. He got off IR today. I got the report. He got off IR today. So he returns after being out since October with a foot injury. And if they can run the ball, but the kid that took his place started to do very well. I didn't get his name. I apologize for that. But he did very well, but he's not Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a beast. And obviously, he's not going to be in game shape. So that backup running back for Tennessee is going to play a big part. But if you go in the fourth quarter in a close game, you're trying to keep the great Joe Burrow off the field, throwing the ball to Lamar Chase, because that's going to be the reason why Cincinnati stays in this game. This high-powered offense that Cincinnati has, I mean, they can keep up in points, but will they stop anybody? There are two defensive standout players, Larry Goobly and Trey Henderson, both hurt. Henderson looking like he'll play. He had a concussion. But Jumani, that's his name, not looking too good right now. So it's a game-time decision. We'll see what's up. He might be ruled out today. But at the end of the day, I just believe, this is just my opinion, Tennessee will win this game. And it's going to be a close game. It's going to be like to me, I know it sounds weird, I think it's going to be like a 24-21 game. It's going to be a close game. There are not going to be any runaways this weekend. That's first and foremost for the divisional players. There ain't going to be any blowouts. No, it's not going to be any blowouts. It's going to be all tough games, all close games down to the wire. So be ready for that. And I want to hear your comments on that on SeymourBarry15@gmail.com. Also, comment on what teams you're picking for this NFL divisional round starting on Saturday. And then on Sunday, the temperature will be around 17 degrees. And the forecast in Lambeau Field in Wisconsin, it's supposed to be a gloomy 17 degrees cold day. And it's being said the California team is not going to be able to play in that. Jimmy G can't throw, his shoulder messed up, his thumb messed up. 49ers travel and they play where they play. They don't worry about no weather. And this is the one trap game that Aaron Rodgers did not want. He would have rather played Tampa Bay again than to play the 49ers. 49ers always go into Green Bay and win. They always, listen, that rivalry, just look back before the game, tonight, tomorrow. Look back and you'll see how the 49ers always have one up on Green Bay. And you can go back to the great catch by Terrell Owens from Garcia to Owens. You can go back to the great catch by Owens from Steve Young. It's always those two teams play. That's a rivalry game. Just like last week was a rivalry game for the 49ers against Dallas. So for the fans of the 49ers, to us, it's like, oh, well, it's a good game. It's going to be what it's going to be. We'll see what happens. So I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams hooking up. 49ers secondary isn't all that great. The key to the game is this. I bet money on this. If Nick Bosa plays, 49ers will win. If Nick Bosa doesn't play and has to keep coming off the field, Aaron Rodgers will win because he'll have plenty of time to throw the ball. Nick Bosa is a whole different. He's a beast. He's a beast. And when you got that guy on the field rushing the passer, that's a whole different dynamic to the 49ers defense. So I'm looking at this game and I'm saying 33-31 49ers. 33-31 49ers will upset the number one seeded Green Bay Packers. And in the Sunday games, Rams and Tampa Bay, look at this star-studded cast that we have on Sunday. For the Rams, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr., Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey. And then for the Tampa Bay Bucks, then it's just Tom Brady, Mike Evans, a defense with some players, and no more AB, no more Godwin. Leonard Fournette might play game time. It's not looking good. But guess what? I'm taking Tampa Bay. Because until you beat the champs, and until you beat Tom Brady, as far as I'm concerned, the Rams should win the game. I'm listing all the stars. But my 49ers beat them. The 49ers beat them. I'm not supposed to say that, but I'm not going to cut the tape. I'm just going to say it. The 49ers beat them. and a few other teams. Cardinals beat them. So Seattle beat them. So, at the end of the day, they're beatable. And even after getting Von Miller, he's done well, but he's rounded into form, so you got to watch him. They put pressure on Tom Brady, they might win the game, but the game is 4 quarters, and Tom Brady, for some reason, gets his guys ready to play the game in the final 4th quarter. So let's look at that game, and my score for that game, simple, 27-24. That's what it looked like, 27-24. I take Tampa Bay over the Rams. And then for the game of the weekend, in Kansas City, the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs. Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. The Bills' defense against the high-powered Chiefs' offense. Sean McDermott, and his mentor, Andy Reid, from when they were in Philadelphia with the Eagles for 10 years. What a game. That's going to be the game, but it's the biggest upset of the weekend. I see the Chiefs winning. I see the Bills winning this game, 31-27. Mark it down. The Bills will be going to the AFC Championship game. They will win this game, 31-27. We're going to see about those NFL picks. BE Seymore here on SportsProbe. SeymourBarry15@gmail.com. Thanks for hanging out with me. And we're going to continue here with some women's college information. Interesting situation last Saturday. Now, Arizona head women's basketball coach, Adia Barnes, questioned officiating in a 68-66 loss in overtime to the rival in the Pac-12, Oregon Beavers. And she felt like her team got homered. I watched the game. I'm with her. And you know what? Sometimes you got to speak out. Because in the first half, it was some dinky calls. Oh, okay. But in the second half, it was as if they wasn't even out on the field. On the court, because they kept getting calls against them. I know the Pac-12 president wasn't happy, but he hasn't suspended her and he hasn't disciplined her. So somebody must know something. I'm just saying, sometimes, it's a dog-eat-dog world. And all refs in sports, some of them suck. That's just what it is. We see it in the NFL sometimes. We see it in hockey. We see it in the NBA. Watch that game. You'll understand why Coach Barnes did what she did. So, just you gotta be a little bit more tactful, Ms. Barnes. But at the same time, Coach Barnes, you stood up for your team. You stood up for university. To me, that's a win. That's a win because it teaches the kids that sometimes you're not wrong all the time. Sometimes you're not wrong all the time, but you have to be tactful in what you do. Move forward with your season, Arizona. You're doing well this year. In the women's top 25 right now, I'm only going to give you 5, okay? I'm only going to give you 5. And the 17-1 ranked Tennessee Volunteer Lady Vols doing well this year, doing much better than they did last year, but they've come back to the pack in the top 5. Number 4, North Carolina State, they're 16-2. Louisville Cardinals, 15-1 at number 3. Number 2 is Stanford Cardinal, they're 13-3. And Dawn Staley's South Carolina Gamecocks, again, come in at number 1 at 17-1. And we'll continue to keep paying attention and seeing what's going on in women's college basketball and with the WNBA, which the draft and free agency will be starting soon. So we want to keep an eye on that and what's going on with those things, all right? Now, just commemorating, and I had one more story, I'm sorry. The matriarch, because this is a NASCAR story, so I'm going to kind of get into something else because I've done golf, NASCAR, boxing, MMA. So for me, I try to get into stories that, that you haven't heard. You hear everything on SportsCenter, you hear everything on every other network. So I'm giving you stuff that you might not have heard or even knew about. So that's SportsProbe. That's what we do on this show. So the matriarch of the Earnhardt family, her name was Martha Earnhardt. She was the wife of the late Dale Sr., who passed away in a terrible auto crash. And then the mother for Dale Jr., who was recently retired, she passed away the other day, 91 years old. So she was, again, the matriarch of the family. She kept the family together. And we just want to send our shout out and our condolences out to the family. Okay? Now, on that note, we need to commemorate a guy or a gentleman who we stood and looked at and said, hey, thank you. We wish we could speak like you. We wish we could be as elegant as you. We wish we could believe what you're saying. But you made us believe it. Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday was this week, and I have a few things you might not know. Might not seem like much, but to me, it kind of comes into play with the final story of the night. But because he actually had a dream for us all that we all had something to believe in, and we all want to believe in something, that'll get us through the next day. So Dr. King, it was interesting because he only got a C in public speaking when he was in seminary school. Now, this guy that speaks so eloquently, his words just flowed out of his mouth. He only got a C in public speaking. I found it to be interesting. And while he was at the Crozier Theological Seminary, Dr. King was introduced to the teachings of my man Gandhi. I like Gandhi. I've read some of his things. Very inspirational, very uplifting. Gandhi, was one of Dr. King's favorite writers and people I ended up meeting years after that, when he was in seminary. Dr. King was a virtual unknown to all of us, to the world, until he went to Montgomery for the bus ride in 1955. And he just made a suggestion in the room with all the reverends, and they said, hey, we want you to speak. Can you speak? We want you to speak. That's how come getting a C in public speaking. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? But that's why I said these are interesting little notes to me. I hope you enjoyed yourself too. And, that was after the great Rosa Parks decided, hey, that was the boycott for that. I'm not giving up my seat. And she changed everything for all of us. So pay homage to her, Dr. King, as well. Now, his I Had a Dream speech, believe it or not, Mahalia Jackson sang for him before he came on the stage. And she said something to him as he was going up to the podium. And she said, make sure you tell him about the dream. That day, that moment, when he was getting ready to say his speech, he changed his speech to I Have a Dream. It wasn't I Have a Dream. Mahalia Jackson told him to tell the people about the dream. Ain't that awesome? That's deep to me. And in 1964, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. And that award was more for the things he did collectively, but that speech, it's changed us all. It changed us all. I mean, we don't even hear it in the schools anymore. I don't even know if they play it. It's a shame, because it uplifted us getting through. And they need to get more of that history back into the classroom if it's not there already. If it is, kudos to all those teachers and administrators who keep it out there, as they should. And I say that because 1955, this young man, his name was Willie Eldon O'Ray. And if you don't know who that is, let me break it down to you. He was the first black hockey player in the NHL. He played from 1958, which meant that when Dr. King said his speech, Mr. O'Ray was listening. And he went on and did what he wanted to do. And he played for the Boston Bruins. And on Tuesday, the Boston Brewers honored him in the only fitting way you can. They retired his number 22 number. And it was an awesome event. And in sports where blacks, and especially in hockey, and other minorities have been like, nah, y'all not playing that. He opened the door. No different than Jackie Robinson, but he opened the door and no one knows about this guy. His name is Willie Eldon O'Ray. Look him up, read about him, find out about his contributions. I'm just giving you some tidbit on him, okay? Because that's what we do here on SportsProbe. We like to always shout out everybody who gives us a helping hand. Special thanks go out to everybody who assisted me with the show, and I thank you. And you can send your comments always to SeymourBarry15@gmail.com. Now, until next week, guys, make sure you enjoy the games, but keep up with the news because we'll be bringing it here to you on SportsProbe with me, BE Seymore. Hey, have a great night. Take care. Peace.